Welcome back. We are doing our DTL, Disciple Thought Leader Spotlight, on Tuesdays so that you can get to know these amazing women and find out what their journeys are to be able to figure out what their purpose is, to find it and then fulfill it and do it as a mom and, because that's what we do, or a woman and. This is how we do it on the daily. We keep our family and our loved ones first, and then we fulfill this other purpose as well, something that God wants us to do, and in all different areas, all different genres. It's been so fun working with all these amazing women, and it's so different for each woman. So today we have our beautiful Angela Meyers. Thanks for being with us, Angela.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to chat with you today.
And it is really a kitchen table chat that we have together. So, for those listening, sit back, have a little cup of cocoa, and it's going to be like this. We love to find out people's journeys to finding their purpose, and then also how they're being able to utilize it to help others. So today, let's start right there. Tell us the journey that began. You love to help parents teach their children and help them to raise responsible and respectful children. I think we all feel this desire for that, and we all struggle at different stages of parenting of how to get that in our lives, in our family lives. We want it, we try for things, and then there's the whining, the moaning, the talk back, the pushback, all the things. So take us back. What has drawn you to this whole topic as a parent educator? What's drawn you to this idea of, I really yearn to help parents learn how to use tools that they can get results and get them quickly and change the dynamics in their family and even legacies?
Sure. I really love the quote by Harold B. Lee, where he says, the most important work you or I will ever do will be within the walls of our own homes. And I think that is so true. There's nothing else that's as important as those relationships and raising those children. And yet, I think that once we get into parenting, all of a sudden, I think most of us wake up and say, oh my gosh, this is so much harder than I thought it was going to be. What did I get myself into? And I feel like that we come to that point, we feel that way, and we're grasping for help. We want to learn, we want to know what to do. And I have an education in parenting, that type of thing. And I found myself saying, I'm supposed to know what I'm doing. And it's so dang hard. And so I want to help parents find those tools, find those principles that will help them know what they're doing in their parenting. So they're not parenting by default, just what they've seen or what they've learned in their past, but they're parenting by design with tools and strategies and things that are not hard to use, but can make a huge difference.
That's so fantastic. And I love that point that you make. You're always talking about this baton that's been passed and being able to do it better, do it differently. And I love the point you make that they can be simple things. And you have your master's in this, in parenting education, and being able to say, okay, let's go deeper and figure out where the obstacles are and where the disconnect is, right? Because most every person that I meet, they want to be a good parent. They want to be the best parent they can be. So there's a disconnect between what we're doing and the result that we're getting. What do you see as sometimes the biggest disconnect or the biggest challenge to knowing what to do and then getting the result of that doing, or making it be a better situation or better applied?
I think the biggest thing to keep in mind is that there are principles that have been tested, tried, proved out. They're kind of eternal principles that really work. And so, first of all, knowing what those principles are is a huge thing. Because if you don't know what you're doing wrong, or you don't know what else you can do, you really don't have a lot of options. Mm-hmm. So knowing what those principles are, and then after that, learning how to apply them, because we all know that just knowing something doesn't make it happen. Like, I know how I'm supposed to eat to lose weight, but that doesn't make it happen. So what makes it happen is when you get those tools that it's an actual how to do it. How do you put the principles into practice? I know it in my head, but what do I need to do as a parent to change the way that I'm parenting so that my kids can respond in a positive way, so that they can become the respectful, responsible kids that I know they can be and that I want them to be? And yet sometimes it's so hard because there is that disconnect. So I think knowing the principles and then finding those specific tools that will help just flip the switch, make the change, make it happen. So we're not just struggling, hitting our heads against the wall.
Exactly. And that's what gets so discouraging as a parent, where you find yourself, I'm doing the right things, but I'm not getting the result. So you had this experience in your own life. Take us back to, you're getting your master's, and you decide that working with your own children and things like that, and seeing other people's children and saying, there's a better way to do this. So you started working on a program on being able to develop something that would help take these principles and give them tools. Tell us how that process worked. Were you just so fed up, or were you just like, oh, I found these cool tools? Like, what was the genesis of that?
Well, as I mentioned just a few minutes ago, I was overwhelmed and I thought, I'm supposed to know what I'm doing. I got the principles, I have the knowledge. Why is it not happening? And I felt overwhelmed. Like there were so many things to keep track of. We're doing scouting. Oh, we're doing homework. Oh, we're supposed to be working on service or values or not lying. There were so many things. I couldn't keep track of them all. And I have special needs children also. So that was thrown into the mix. And so I thought, I need something. I need some way to make sure that there's a system in place so that I'm not tearing my hair out all the time, so that I can trust my system and know that because everything is set up ahead of time, that it will happen like it's supposed to. So I took all the principles, all the knowledge I had from my master's program, and I dumped it all into my Kudos for Kids system. And basically it covers everything from teaching your kids to talk respectfully, to learning how to work and do chores, how to have family unity and set goals. It encompasses all those things. And I threw them into this one program. And it's really super simple for parents every night to just change the cards on the chart for the next things to happen for the following day. And so it's very simple. So I took everything I knew, dumped it into a program, and it gave me relief. It gave me the ability to enjoy my kids more and not be so worried and so focused on, okay, what are we doing at this minute? Everything kind of fell into place and there was a plan. And I can't tell you what a huge transformation that was for me, to know that my kids wanted to work, that my kids wanted to talk respectfully, because there were incentives and rewards, and the plan was set up ahead of time. So when there was a problem, no big deal. We knew what the system was going to do. We knew what was supposed to happen. So it made it so much easier.
That is so genius, because that is the bane of a parent's life, is trying to help this to be not just I'm telling you or I'm talking at you or whatever, but getting them to want to do those things, to understand the deeper reason, even if they don't understand it just yet at their age level, but they understand it to a degree to at least be like, I want to do X, Y, and Z. Do you have an experience that comes to mind that as you taught your kids and use systems and apply these principles and use the tools, is there a moment that you remember where you're like, oh my gosh, this is working. Like, this is so working. Does anything come to mind?
There are a couple of things. I remember teaching my kids that they needed to work and earn things, and they would say, oh, I want this pet or that pet. We went through so many pets. I can't tell you how many we had, different ones, birds, fish, all kinds of different pets, because they were given the opportunity and the system was set up. They knew that they could earn what they wanted. So they would sit down and make a list of everything they needed for that pet, the cage or the fishbowl or the tank, the food, everything that they needed. And they had to come up with a list, how much it would cost. They had to then do jobs and earn the money for that. And I remember very clearly on multiple occasions, standing next to my child at the pet store or the grocery store or the clothing store, whatever store it was, standing there next to them as they were checking out and they were purchasing the items and saying to the clerk, oh my gosh, look at this kid. Can you believe that he earned this all himself? He worked so hard and he knows how to take care of the pet, and we're super excited. And just watching my kids beam because they knew that they had earned it. And I'll tell you also that when your kids earn things, they appreciate them so much more. They take care of them. All of a sudden, it's not just mom bought it for me. It's I worked long and hard for that. And so that was a huge one. Also, other times my kids would work without being asked. I mean, how many parents wouldn't want that? Nobody. We all would love it if our kids just jumped up and did their chores every morning, like before school, came home from school, did their homework without being asked. But when you have the system set up, they are motivated internally. They don't need you on the outside nagging at them. So there's so many examples that's just one small one, just knowing that it wasn't just rewarding them on the outside, but that inside things were changing, that they were learning values, that they were learning to be responsible and respectful.
I love it. And I love too that you have simplified this, because It can feel so overwhelming. I remember when you were first telling me about some different things that I could do with my own 10-year-old. And at first I was like, what is this going to take? It's so much energy, right? And
Yes.
yes, and he's a great kid, right? It's just more of, okay, how can we set these principles, not just for right now, for him to take care of the fish or or a cat, but I want him to have those principles set in play for later, for when
Yes.
things get harder. And I want those systems already in play for him. So it's harder for him to deviate from that discipline and that this rhythm. It'll help sustain him and move him forward. And I remember how easily I was shocked how easily I was able to help him switch the gear. That having just a few systems in place and a few tools actually created such a shift where he was doing that same thing, working to earn. We're doing his little Kudo cash and earning for his Legos that he goes and he buys and then he builds. And he's done the same thing, like, hey, careful, don't touch that. Like, I earned that. Like, it's so much different than the things
Yes.
mom buys. I'm like, hey, same principle, right?
Yes.
But I love that there's so many ways to do it simply. And you have come up with a lot of simple tools, simple principles that can happen. You can get results in as quick as a day. So tell us about the I'd Be Happy To, because this was shocking to me how quickly this could make a difference. So tell us about this.
All right, this one's such a fun game. The I'd Be Happy to game is a small like sample or small part of the whole system that I love to watch parents try because they get so excited. It's almost like magic. It works so quickly. So basically the idea is that all our kids, when we ask them to do something, they like roll their eyes, they whine, they sit on the couch, they don't jump up and do it, or they do it very begrudgingly. So the whole idea is that as parents, we want to focus on the positive. And by focusing on this one thing, you will be amazed at how quickly your kids' attitudes will change, how quickly they want to be the first one to jump up and help. So it's called the I'd Be Happy To game. Basically, every time you ask your child to do something and they say, I'd be happy to, and do it right then with a smile, they get rewarded with, if you're on the system, it's Kudo Cash. But if you're just trying out, I'd be happy to, it's a little smiley face token. And you would think, what in the world would cause a child to jump up and help out and be cooperative for a 2-inch by 2-inch square of paper with a happy face on it? But they do. And the reason for that is because the happy face is tied to 3 different things: a treat bucket, a treasure box, and to a privileges list that your kids come up with. You will be amazed at your kids jumping up and down, trying to do whatever you ask to get that little tiny piece of paper. So basically, I have the I'd Be Happy To program. If you go to kudosforfamilies.com/newsletter, you can sign up for the newsletter. And in there, we're going to do a challenge in January. You can join us for that challenge and do the I'd Be Happy To game with us. Super easy. Costs nothing. It's free. You just do the free download, pull together some things from your house and get going with it. And you'll see results within a day. When I said that to parents who tried this, they were like, no. You see results in an hour because the kids are so motivated. Because all of a sudden they're like, I could have that privilege. I could have a pizza party with friends if I have this many little tokens, and they get super excited. So it's fun. But we are starting a challenge in January. You can do it anytime, but with the challenge in January, I'll just be walking you through it, telling you what to do each day. It'll just be a 3-day challenge. So
I love it. 3-day challenge and getting a lot of extra on those resources and kind of hidden tools to be able to make this even more effective and keep it going and keep it sustained. So I love that. Plus being able to connect with other parents and being able to support one another. Parents,
yes.
so sometimes I feel like we sit in a church class or a community group and we all want to look like I am an awesome parent, right? And so we don't really reach out a lot unless they're a close group and be able to say, okay, what are you doing? How is it working for you? We kind of feel like we should already know and it should already be working for us. So I love the ability to connect with other parents who are saying, okay, what's a new thing I can add? What's a better thing? What's something that's going to make our family life that much simpler and easier and happier? So I love it. So again, if you want to, we'll put that in the notes below, but it's Kudos for Families /newsletter, and you can check it out there and you'll get all the scoops. And as we've come into a little close here. As you've gone through that, you did the program and you've been teaching, your dad has had these principles. You've added your principles to it that has made it your own. You're now a speaker. You now speak at conferences and classes and all different things. And you're sharing these tips and tools with other parents. Is there an experience or something someone has shared with you that has made you feel like, wow, yes, I can see that this is working, where they started with the child that was here and the child was able to get here because of just these simple tools?
Yes, I think there's so many examples because they're eternal principles that work when parents apply them. It's like I said, it's kind of magical. I'm trying to think. I know that one family that I know, they've done the I'd Be Happy to game, and their lives, they said, are never going to be the same because now instead of begging and pleading, the kids are just volunteering and helping. They don't even need to be rewarded with the I'd Be Happy to tokens. They just have that spirit of cooperation, that spirit of wanting to help, because they've learned through these little pieces of paper that there is meaning behind it. And it's not just to earn things, it's actually because they want to be good, they want to help, and they want to work out. I've seen parents who have taken kids who are difficult kids. This works with kids with Asperger's or autism because they like to have that chart. They like to have the routine. They like to have the boundaries set. And so it works really well. I know one child who didn't want to do something, so the parents just put it on the list. It's like, I am not going to vacuum. I am not going to vacuum. And the parent just quietly added the card to the chart. And all of a sudden, the next day they noticed, oh yeah, he's vacuuming. He's doing his chores because he couldn't not do it because it was on his little ring on the chart. So it works so well. And I think it's important that our kids are learning these things young because we want them to grow up to be successful and happy adults. And yet we're not training them when they're young. All of a sudden they're 18, they're leaving home and they fail because we've given them everything and done everything for them. But through the proper tools and systems and things, you can get responsible, respectful kids. And it's not that hard. It's not.
And I love that point. It is so possible. It's just the right principles and tools and a very simple system and getting that system in place. I love it. Angela, this is so inspiring. And I have to say, I've noticed one other thing that I've noticed is that even though I was focused on this for my 10-year-old, I've noticed that my other children have picked up on it too, even though I just mainly have my 17-year-old at home now. I've noticed that she has been more helpful. She has been more thoughtful. Just this morning, I was out plowing the driveway and she's shoveling the walk. I didn't even have to ask her. And she's in her fit for school, right? And usually that's like, hey, I don't want to do anything because I'm ready for school. And she just started shoveling. I didn't even have to ask. And there's no kudo thing. There's no anything that's in the mix for her, but she's had that experience and she sees that. And the feel in our home has been very much that culture of we help, we share, I'd be happy to.
Yes.
And I think it's amazing how that can just domino effect through the family. Angela, thank you so much. If people want to reach you and connect with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
They can connect at kudosforfamilies@gmail.com or just go on to our Facebook page. But yeah, kudosforfamilies@gmail.com, and I can send you an email back. And any questions you have, any concerns, any thoughts, I would love to help.
Love it. And you have your kudosforfamilies.com, your website, and you have so many different social media channels that people can come and reach you on. I love it. She has great tools and tips and podcasts with lots of parenting ideas that are just doable and usable and not overwhelming. I so appreciate that about you. Thank you so much for being with us today.
This has been fun. Thank you so much, Connie. I appreciate it.
You bet. And if you're interested, if you like these spotlights and finding out people's how they find their purpose and then fulfill it and their journey to do that, check out our other detailed spotlights and you'll find out everyday women doing extraordinary things by just taking the next right step and being able to ask Heavenly Father to partner with them to be able to do what they're supposed to do and be able to live a purpose-filled life. Thanks for joining us. See us next time.